10 years from now. I find that when I begin a project or begin to make a change in my routine, I want to see changes happen fast. If only life worked that way. Imagine if you could decide one day to become a fit and strong person, then later that week you achieve that goal. Or if you wanted to be successful in your career, you were able to gain the respect and honor you want from your peers within a couple of months. That would be magical. I've been watching a YouTube channel called Sprout recently. And the host conducts street interviews with individuals, often they're mature folks. He asks them how old they are, what it's like being their age. Then at some point, he asks what advice they would give to a younger person for life. Well, I don't think it needs to be said, but the older folks never say they wish they had more money to spend on stuff. Most often they say the opposite. The advice is always great. They say things like spend more time with family and friends, don't worry about what people think of you, travel more. In a nutshell, they reflect on the value of relationships, experiences, and being authentic. Well, all of that seems fine, but it can also be a tall order for many of us. What happens when you want to improve your relationship with someone and they're so busy because life, so you end up with a relationship of sorts? You're friendly and clearly you like one another, but the relationship overall is not satisfying because it lacks the depth that you crave. What about having experiences? If you're an up-and-coming working hero, you don't have time to engage in experiences. Or if you're a parent, or if you are economically disadvantaged, the experiences may simply be out of reach. Let's take a moment and consider being authentic. This is a huge challenge for most. Who even knows who they truly are in their heart? And if you do know, I suspect you aren't authentic because the people around you have a preconceived notion of who you are and would reject you if you change. Even something simple like changing your hairstyle can lead to uncomfortable pushback from those you love. Ask any woman who's cut off their long hair, decided to dye their hair, or, Lord forbid, stop dyeing their hair. Or ask any man who's shaved his beard or began growing a mustache. People like you when you remain the same. Pushback makes me uncomfortable. I want to be accepted for who I am, but often I find that being who I am makes others uncomfortable with me. I believe this is because who I am is in conflict with who they are. When my daughter was in her early teens, about 14 years old or so, she became a vegan. I thought it was fine. We worked towards ensuring all family meals had ample vegan options, and I'll admit it wasn't always easy, especially reading the ingredients on bread packages, which often uses brown typeface for some odd reason. Imagine trying to read brown typeface on clear plastic packaging with brown bread crust right behind the letters. It's hard, but I did it. It was totally worth it to help her. I learned a lot about how to create meals that worked well for my family at that time. Now that I'm eating mostly plant-based, I've been able to use those skills in my day-to-day life. However, she got a lot of negative feedback from those around her. I was surprised by the level of hostility she encountered, and it made me curious why anyone would care what she ate. She was never a high-spirited vegan with a social or political agenda that she tried to cram down people's throats. In fact, I don't ever recall her telling anyone about her decision. I only had a vague idea of why she wanted to eat a vegan diet, and it definitely had to do with caring about animals. My point is that when you decide to become a frugal person, that will involve change. Not everyone will be happy with your change, and it may be because they like who you are now and they want you to remain the same forever. I'd like to point out that if you have friends in your life who want you to remain stagnant, they may not be your friends. I hope that you want all the people in your life to grow into who they can be at the pinnacle of their existence versus hoping they will remain who they are forever and ever. Another thing that can happen when you decide to make a change is that the change you make could be in direct opposition to your family or friends' way of life or ideals. In the example of my daughter's choice to eat a vegan diet, this was a confrontation in a subtle way to those around her who chose to consume animal products. How is this all connected to changing your life to becoming a frugal person? Be aware that you may get pushback, and be aware that the changes you make may not have an immediate impact. The saying, "good things come to those who wait," is accurate to a degree. I'd say good things come to those who are consistent. In the course of over 10 years, if you're consistent in your efforts, you'll see results, and you won't have to worry about the times you slipped up a little bit. Know that the challenges you face from people when you make a change in your life will work out. If they love you, they'll accept the changes in you, and if they don't, then maybe they are not a person who can be in your life. It's a harsh way to approach relationships, but consider the relationship. If your relationships can't be maintained unless you live an inauthentic life, I'm not sure that relationship is healthy. Going back to the YouTube channel Sprout and the host questions to older people, take a moment to look at yourself in a photo from 10 years ago. Look how amazing you look. Look at your young face, your promise, with the future ahead of you and the unknown. Know that in 10 years, when you look at a photo of yourself from today, you'll think the same thing. You'll think you look amazing, fresh, young. Know that in the course of those 10 years, you'll find people who love who you are, who want to join you on your journey, who want to learn from you, and who want to teach you. Know that if you bought a donut once a month, every month, over those 10 years, it will have little impact on your condition, whatever that may be, as long as the rest of the time you were making healthy choices. When you decide to avoid buying items that you don't need, it will enhance your financial situation. But you don't have to be perfect. Try to be consistent. Consistency will have a greater impact on your life than the occasional perfection. Imagine that you decided to forego your ritual weekday coffee and muffin from the local fast service coffee dispensary. Your typical daily spend is $7. That equals $1,750 per year if you work 50 weeks each year. Now multiply that by 10 years. That is $17,500. That's a nice chunk of change. But also, what happens if once per month you splurge? $7 a month for 10 years is $840. The ratio of spend to save is small and not worth worrying about. Keeping a 10-year big picture in mind means that if you need to make adjustments, you can. If you begin your journey by limiting purchases that affect only you, then adding in a few limits that affect others, you'll find that people adjust to the evolving you, and they may even begin asking how you're including frugal living into your day-to-day life, because they also want to go on a financial diet. Don't expect everyone to come along for the ride. Just know that in 10 years, you'll have an extra $17,500 in your savings account, and that in 20 years, it'll be even better, just like you. Know that right now you are very lovely. Don't wait 10 years to appreciate how amazing you are. Don't let others get in the way of your progress. Instead, build relationships that support who you want to become or that support your interest in being your authentic self. In 10 years, you'll fondly remember those who stood by you on your journey. You'll find a link to the YouTube channel Sprout in the show description. Next time on Page Power, the one kitchen appliance that will save you time and money.